Hey, all my adventurers, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, please hit that subscription button. If you've been with me from the beginning or you recently joined the family, I thank you so very much. Now, if you've actually been with me from the beginning, then you would know that even though this vlog seems a little bit out of my niche, it's actually quite close to home because prior to starting my own tour and transportation company, again, guys, if you're traveling to Jamaica and you're looking for tour guide and transportation, and hit me up. But like I said, prior to starting my tour and transportation company, I worked at the Cornwall Regional Hospital and I worked there for, you could say, 5 years, right? So, you know, in this vlog, we're going to be doing a walkthrough of Cornwall Regional Hospital, and we'll be going through floor by floor. So we'll see the outpatient clinic area, the fourth floor, the maternity ward, fifth floor, the OT, the operating theater, as well as the ICU, CSSD, right, dietary area, A&E department. I'm gonna take you through it. Now, before I even get into it, I just want to say this. No part of this vlog should be taken by anyone and reused without my permission. So let me just start right there, right? Um, Also, we'll be doing a brief look at the Western Children and Adolescent Hospital as well, that which is in the back right here. And you don't know what the future holds. Again, if you've been with me from the beginning, you would have known that I am a doctor and I worked on the pediatric department for some time. And I always say never. You never can tell. I just might be there back in the future, but who's to say? Anyways, one might be wondering how it is that I'm able to be on the walkthrough that I'm going to show you. So a while back, a couple weeks ago, I was invited to a breakfast meeting with some young professionals in Montego Bay, where the most honorable Dr. Andrew Olness was going to be in attendance. And opportunities like this, they don't arise quite often. And me being me, of course, I have my questions. And because of the question that I asked, that's how I got invited on the tour. So me being invited on tour was basically the answer to the question. So let's get into the question. Hi, pleasant afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Amanda Bowen. All right, I have several questions. As I mentioned before, I'm a doctor, but I have transitioned into tourism, so I have a two-part questions. I'm going to try to keep it as brief as possible. So the first one is, what is the realistic deadline for CRH reopening and the justification for it's taking 8 years to reach this point? Of note, I worked at Cornwall Regional for 5 years myself. We realized that the admin department has been reopened on the building, but I was wondering why it was that the A&E wasn't a main priority. Another question is, how are we prioritizing the nursing jobs for our local staff, as many of them are without jobs amid this nursing shortage, right? There have been recent partnerships with Nigeria and Philippines. Would there be something like that what here in Jamaica we could possibly do? Lastly, doctors are actually living wage to wage. A lot of you might not believe it, but that's a reality. Having to take on extra shifts, and with the incentives being slashed, why has there been such a pushback from the financial ministry to come to a wage package that is reflective of their integral importance of our society, with a tribunal having been called by the GMD? Right? Yeah, so that was basically part one of my question. My other question was about tourism, but we're not, that's not what we're talking about in this vlog. So now let's get into the hospital tour. So this is the general admin. So you would have seen where I said that general administration was opened. It was the first part of the hospital that has been reopened. It's a good move. And if you haven't seen it on social media as yet, I would like to believe that most people would have seen it already, but I'm just going to show you guys this part. So, it's looking really good, right? The air condition was working, it was kicking. It's really nice, really clean. It's brand new, basically, and it's equipped with quite modern amenities, right? It's giving first world. Let's be honest, people. It's giving first world. And, more than likely, this time around, they would have learned from previous mistake and know that maintenance is very important. So in my mind, I have no worry that they're going to maintain this office right here, right? So again, guys, before going any further, like, share, comment, subscribe, turn on post notification, follow me over on Instagram and TikTok at amandas876adventures, right? This is the CEO's office, and I'm telling you, the office is really nice. The space is clean, smell nice, the air is working. And you know, when you're doing a project, you normally have pictures of what the outcome should look like. Well, I have those pictures for general admin as well as the other areas of the hospital. And when you look at those pictures and what is reality right now, they definitely delivered. And I'm telling you, this bathroom right here, yes, the bathroom is looking like prosperity. It's giving prosperity. But yes, enough talking. The minister is here. I'm gonna, he was saying I want to. So let's take it over to the Minister of Health and Wellness, Minister Tufton.
We never designed a substandard facility. We designed a facility that was going to be on par with the best anywhere in the world, which is why we had consultants from overseas and so on. And we have never, what people need to understand is that we have never gone through this exercise. This is a historic first for us. Granted, it started with a crisis, but ultimately it was seen as an opportunity. And what we have done is converted the crisis into an opportunity to modernize the facility, provide the best quality service for people in the Western Jamaica and elsewhere. So it's just that conversion that is where a lot of disruption has to take place, but also the understanding of what is the vision takes a little bit of effort. And so we remain steadfast, and I think we're getting there.
All right, so these are the pics I was referring to. These are the pictures that they had for what the outcome should look like. And as you can see, they look exactly like what admin is right now. And I have pictures for some parts of the hospital as well. So I have no doubt that they will deliver on that. But anywho, I'm going to hand over to the project manager so that we can start walking through the building and you guys can see what's really going on.
Section here is a portico that has been built recently. Before, when you drove in, the routing is pretty much the same, but you didn't come in undercover. So this is a new structure here, and this material is what I call a Luca bond. It's a metal sheeting with a enamel type finish, with a coated finish, not necessarily enamel. And the same thing with a lighter blue in the background. This will aid in easing maintenance. Okay. So this is new, so you can see somewhat is new, and the blue squares, rectilinear structures in the background are also added during an earlier phase. This is phase 3 that we're in now. There was a phase 2B, 2A, phase 1 before. It came on at phase 2B, and those were added during phase 2B. So in order to get from operating theater to central sterilization storage department, they built those. So before, people would have to walk through the public area from operating theater with blood and things to go to sterilization. Now they can take that staircase or a dumbwaiter type structure up to CSSD. So in terms of infection prevention and control standards, that's been a major addition to the hospital. So from here, let us go into the site and just get the process of logging in before we go anywhere else. Just
we'll stay close to you.
Yeah, and just watch your feet.
Sure.
All right, please. There shouldn't be anything falling from above, but we'll keep these on anyway. So Palmer, I'm just going to let them sit here. If he comes, just and then there are over 600 beds throughout in terms of various clinics and those things, but inpatient beds. So it'll be 430 here, and over by Western Children Adolescent, I think it's 225. So Dietary, which dealt with just here before, now has to deal with up from 400 to 600 and call it 650, 660 beds. So the Dietary has been expanded, and that's one of the things that we want, because Western Child, if it comes on ahead of CRH, should be in a position to provide food for Western Child. So it was prioritized. The server room was prioritized obviously because it's like the brain, and it has to be connected to Western Child. And general stores is this really overlooked component of the hospital, but that's where they store everything. And when I say store everything, they store consumables for various parts of the hospital, they store all the food for Dietary, they store everything that is needed. So it's a very important part, and that is going to be handed over as well earlier. So I will walk you through all of those areas, and then the idea is that we'll look at the various floors. So the build out of the floors in terms of the walling and those things is going on. The major infrastructure for electricity, plumbing, data, medical gases, all of that is happening simultaneously. And the contractor is, because it has to be connected, they're moving from the ground floor up, and then everything will then be plugged together and tested. The operating theater is very advanced, but the operating theaters and A&E, which has been expanded, the A&E space has been doubled, essentially. A&E will come on last. There are certain areas that the standards for infection prevention and control are extremely high. And even with admin, admin was supposed to have moved in at a certain point. So the contractor met the timeline for the construction component. And then after the construction was done, the environmental health unit for the ministry came in and started doing their air quality testing. Because they were in an active construction zone, the particulate matter that made it improper for people to occupy the space took a very long time to come down. So as you move around the site, as Devon just said, the site is very clean. And that is with a view to trying to prepare for the moving of other areas. So ZD, who are the contractors on this, have a team who goes around and wets and sweeps and cleans and is steadily removing all of the gunk so that by the time they're ready to tile, the place will be ready to receive the tiles. But that is an ongoing process. So we'll move through the building. I'll take it to all the floors. You can see the different stages of completion. And then any questions or anything that you want to know. If you see something and you don't know what it is, or you want to know what it is or why it's happening, I'll tell you. And then I'll try and point out what happened in other phases. So in phase 2B, which is where I assume responsibility for the project, there were several atria within the building. And one of the things that was felt is that the water coming in when it rains and those things was affecting the ability to control the rate of mold growth. And mold is something that everybody's afraid of, but mold is everywhere, all the time. It's just that we have to make sure we don't create an environment that is conducive to its growth and that it doesn't flourish. So we've enclosed some of these atria, and by so doing, we've created a lot more usable space within the building. And you'll see that especially when we go to CSSD, because there was a double height space there that now we have a significant amount of square footage because we've closed it in. And there are other areas where we've maximized the use of double height space. So we'd have like a two-story space, and they put in a mezzanine level, and they're now able to use that floor for, in this instance, on the 3rd floor for the cardiology clinic. All right, so what I'm going to do, there's a circuit down here. So I'm going to take you through the eastern part of the 3rd floor. So the building has 10 floors, but it has more. The two above the 10th floor are service spaces. So Digicel has space on the roof, and that's how a lot of the communication takes place in Montego Bay, and it's still active. On the ground floor, the radiotherapy department is still active. They call it 1. So it's not the numbering protocol doesn't have G234. It's 1, 2, 3, 4 to 10 in the elevator. So we're on the 3rd floor, and this is a main entrance, right? And then there's a main entrance for A&E that is on the 1st floor, and then there's a main entrance for renal on the 1st floor as well, and then there's a main entrance on the 2nd floor for pharmacy. So it's really, the building has basically 4 fronts because you can enter on all the sides. So on this floor, on the western side and on the eastern side and on the northern side, you have outpatient clinics on the west, outpatient clinics on the east, and radiology in that section there towards the north, and some other meeting spaces beyond. So just to do the circuit, we'll walk through here, we'll go through nursing and admin and those things, that nursing section, and you can see the state of readiness of those spaces, and then we'll just do a circuit, try and cover as much as we can on the 3rd floor before we come back here. So come this way. So some of the areas, you'll notice that we're having trouble with tile. A big thing in here, a lot of people didn't want us to trouble this floor. It's a terrazzo floor. It's tough as nails, and it's a great floor. But it's also made of concrete. Concrete is porous. Porous materials store liquid. So if somebody vomits, has blood loss, urinates, concrete would absorb it. It is not fit for infection standards in modern hospitals. So it's a great floor, but not here anymore. So as you can see, all of this was gutted. Everything in this area was stripped straight back to the structure. And now the contractor has built out pretty much all of the spaces to the point where the final render is on the wall, the prime is on the wall, and they're ready now just to put on the final painting, flooring, doors and windows, the ceilings, lighting, all of those things. But all of the, what they call the fixes to that point, all of the electrical conduits and networking that goes to the end is in place. They're just going to come through and finish it. This is not our priority. We can't, if we introduce a space, that means that we're introducing a lot of public to the building, and we can't bring them to an active construction site. So some of the decisions which I took in collaboration with the end users, which spaces they need, but which spaces that they need and can be used safely. So if you look at admin, you can access admin from outside. So people can come and go without interfering with construction. Medical records has its own entrance on the west. Dietary has its own entrance on the east. The server room is okay because there's only 2 people coming in there. We can put them in PPE and get them to and from the server room safely. And general storage is on the first floor, and they go in beside radiotherapy, uninterrupted and uninterrupting of construction. All right.
I noticed you use concrete board on these.
Yes.
That's throughout?
Throughout. So no. And it depends on where we were. So when you go with radiology, you'll see that there's lead. So there's lead lining in certain areas, and then there's, depending on the nature of the space, the material selection has been done. And then what we've done is we've worked very closely for fire rating standards with the fire brigade. So one of the things in terms of a milestone for me was ensuring that we had full planning approval for the construction here. We have regular visits from the Municipal Corporation and Jamaica Fire Brigade to ensure that what we're doing is to code and to standard. So we do the inspections, they come and they test everything. They set up the routes for admin, whatever we're told to do, we do. So they come, they know all the materials, and they're appropriately set up. I'll show you on a very interesting feature on the wards. What wasn't there before is all the high floors at the eastern and western end. They're refuge zones, and what it is, they didn't exist before. But if you can imagine, if you're in a bed and a sprinkler system goes off, the people who are not ambulant, they couldn't be taken down the stairs. So these zones at the end of each ward are lockable, and they can be taken there, and the fire brigade can then ascend, get them, and then move down. But if once they're in that space, until the fire is brought under control and they can be safely moved from the building, they're safe.
So the original steps, though, were very narrow.
The ones in the middle?
The ones past the elevators?
Yes.
They were very narrow?
They're still there. We didn't take them out, but they'll be fixed up. But the stairs on either end are wide enough to allow. Yeah.
Those were original too?
Those are original.
I never saw those. So.
Yeah, we use them. We use them. So as we move through, one of the concerns that everybody had, air handling systems to ensure that M word is managed properly and that the quality of the air is kept the way it should be. Quality of the air meaning temperature, level of allergens, so all of them come with HEPA filtration, all of this. So maintaining the temperature is one of the things that spikes in temperature where you have condensation, those things, those are what create an environment for mold growth. So with proper air handling systems, which did not exist before, that will be managed. So these are all treatment spaces. We have dental, a slew of clinics in this area. So outpatients that need, as I said, dental, several other clinic spaces will be in this area. And if you look up, you will see all of the new air conditioning system being put in. What you'll also see is the existing structure. Because as I said to you, we tore out everything up to the existing structure. And one of the things that, for those of you who can see it or appreciate it, is that the structure is actually in pretty good condition. The concrete was actually very good quality concrete. So the build out in this area is very advanced. I mean, all the plumbing network is in. You can see the ceiling beds going in all of the rooms. The flooring, there are some things that are on the floor that still need to be cleaned off, but that's very cosmetic before we come in and put in the new flooring. And all of the materials deal with several things. Proper infection prevention and control, in terms of cleaning, and in terms of underfoot comfort. So in these areas where doctors and nurses have to be traversing constantly, there'll be reduced noise and reduced pressure on the feet, because it'll be a resilient flooring.
So you made a point a while ago that the structure was really in great shape.
Yes,
Because that's something that we're going to face as questions.
definitely.
So would you have said that, given that statement, that this was the right approach to the
Definitely. I mean, I unfortunately, one of the first interactions I had when I started the project was I made the fatal error of saying to somebody, it's easier to do greenfield construction. And they took it completely out of context. And the headline said, project manager says, it would have been better to build a new building. And that is not what I said. I mean, what I said was obvious. Greenfield construction is a hell of a lot easier. Like, I would rather have had a brand new building to build instead of doing this, because this is hard. This is hard. I mean, it's hard, but I'm very grateful, because regardless of what anybody has to say, so some of the stuff that the Canadians did in terms of the design don't work for us. So they had the boiler in the basement right underneath A&E, which apparently used to cook the people in A&E. The generator was in a plant room within the building. I mean, that works if you have to go to -40 in some way up north. But if you're in the middle of the flipping Caribbean, a generator outside that's what you do. So those things didn't make sense. But if you look up, right, you see these, you'll see, and it's all over. It's all over. These openings, we didn't create them. There are the logic that they had in terms of the connectivity, like these right above us. If you look at this open area here, it has allowed us to do so much in terms of putting in ducting and running pipes. I mean, all of these openings that you see here, they left and they had the presence of mind, even in these areas, to leave these openings. They could have just cast the concrete, and they didn't. So whatever they were thinking when they did it, it has helped a lot in terms of the ceiling height that we have to work with now. Because if you go over to, for example, the Western Children Adolescent, this height here, from the underside of this beam to this floor, this is really hard. So when I say it's hard to work with, it's that. Like, if I could have had a ceiling height straight to the underside of this slab throughout the entire hospital, like,
That would have been easy.
like that would have been a breeze. But no, when you get up to the ward floors, you'll see it. You can touch the underside of the beams. And then fire came along, and fire said, "Boy, no, Viv, you kind of need to put in a sprinkler system in the ward floors." And I'm like, there was never a sprinkler system in the ward floors. Why are you doing this? No. Why are you imposing this? No. And they said, well, this is what is now the standard. You have to do it. So, I mean, it was no shortage of gymnastics to get a 5-inch pressurized water main to get sprinkler systems to all floors. But luckily, we have a really able set of designers, and we've come up with something that works. It may not, in some areas, be the most beautiful, but we have managed to meet the requirements. But, I mean, if you were doing a brand new building, all of the ceiling heights from all floors would be 14 feet. And then you just drop in a ceiling and everything is just hidden and looks really pretty, and there's lots of stuff going on.
There's crawl space in the top.
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
How long have you been the project manager for the project?
Since the 1st of November 2021. It seems like a really long time ago. And like when you hear it and you think about, I tell people, it's like if I didn't have to do all the procurements that you have to do, and I'm not knocking the procurement system, the procurement system. No. The procurement system works just fine if you have somebody that can walk it through constantly. And luckily, as the head of the PIU for Cornwall Regional Hospital, I had my own procurement person. I had my own accountant, I had my own QS, I had my own everybody. And therefore,
Easier.
yeah. Hi, Minister, we're coming outside. I have a lot of control. And I don't have anybody saying I have competing priorities. Your priorities Cornwall Regional Hospital. You don't have to do anything else. So I can stick to very tight timelines with procurement. And it works. When I took back phase 3 to cabinet, everybody in cabinet said, Vivian, you were here 12 months ago. And I'm like, yeah. They're like, this is $14 billion worth of procurement. How did you do this? I said, Anika Andrews, Marlon Chambers, myself, and about 5 other people. That's how you do it. But if you allow it to be a bugbear, it will be a bugbear. If you manage it and you know what you're doing, it won't be a bugbear. Come, let us go back out.
I'm gonna briefly interrupt because I want to bring some attention to the potholes in my community. Now, the councillor, he knows himself. I'm asking again kindly for some attention to be given to this street. You already know the street. There's no reason why there should be grass growing in the street. There's no reason why I should be dropping in craters when I drive to get to my yard. I'm asking kindly again for some attention to be paid to my street. These potholes are getting out of hand. Now let's get back into the vlog.
So this is some of the space that I said we were able to retrieve. This space frame structure here has covered this atrium, which has meant that all of these areas now become usable space. So much so that the contractor has extra area to build their AC ducting. So all of this now is covered.
Why is it so wet now?
They wet it.
Oh, it's wet deliberately.
They wet it and they sweep in order to keep the dust
So
down.
it's the dust control. Okay.
This is dust control.
Right.
Yeah.
So before
No,
now, this
no.
was all open space.
This structure you see up, this roof, is called a space frame. Lightweight, very, very strong. We put that in during phase 2B.
What about the heat though when the sun touches?
No man, all of that, it still dissipates. If you look at the spacing above, between the top of the beam.
For the air, yes.
Yeah. So, and then, and there are vents. So along that side, you see the vents.
Yeah.
Vents there, and then the space up there runs all around. You actually don't even perceive that there is a structure there. I mean, if you knew it before, you don't.
It was open.
Yeah, you don't pick it up.
Pharmacy was over there. The morgue
Pharmacy is still there.
Accounts was down there.
Morgue is gone.
And the lab. Yeah.
We've kept a lot of the spaces similar.
So here is going to be the outpatient. You had said something about the road here.
So this is very, very advanced. It's almost completely finished.
Right.
But
You showed them there already?
I did.
Okay.
We got to that entrance, the exit to the outpatient, and I was going to go across here to radiology and show them some of the outpatient clinics on the east. So a very important, and it's just for you to look at, not to touch. So this is the radiology department, and what you're seeing here is the installation of the new lead. The lead sheeting is 2 millimeters thick, which is required for fluoroscopy, X-ray, CT, all the other radiology, the imaging services within the hospital. And one of the things that is good about imaging is that we have a CAT scan up here, but we also have a CAT scan in A&E. So the need for people to move before or wait or whatever it is, if you come in and you need a CT, you're not waiting for radiology up here. There's a suite down in A&E, which did not exist before.
Excuse me. One of them were asking what to order a couple of pipes, or if it's medical gas or.
Okay, so you have medical air and you have oxygen. Yeah. So, and this is, yeah.
Yeah, man, I know. He was asking, but I figured more else.
And this is a major thing. And it's a major thing for security as well. The copper, as you know, is very valuable. So there's a lot of effort. Once these things have been put in, one, like the lead on those things, the areas are being closed off. The lead is not to be touched because lead is poisonous, but it's important. So we don't touch it. And we keep away from it. Just, yeah, go down. We can. I mean, the outpatient clinics on the eastern side are very similar in terms of the layout to what happened on the west. We can walk through the space if you want to, but I mean, it's pretty much the same thing.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, pretty much the same thing. Yeah. So all of this here, where we see the lead, is part of the radiology unit. But as I said, the contractor has opted to close off this area now so that they don't have too many people going into the space. IGL came yesterday, so we came up with a solution. Yeah, so we're going to reduce it to 2 tanks.
Okay.
So that whole confusion there. This We can just stop for a moment here. Part of the Western Children Adolescent, the shared services is in the morgue. That's a new morgue building, as well as other things. It's not just morgue. Okay. But that will now take morgue services for CRH and Western Child and Adolescent. Okay. They started putting in the fixed overs, Minister, since the last time you're here, over Western Child. 225, I think, is a counter over there. I think that's a correct number. I'm not sure if it is the exact number of inpatient beds, but I believe that's the number.
They have told me 250, but anywhere between 225 and 250.
I'm gonna have to take you back. We blocked off this area. I'm so sorry. The new conference room for the hospital. This is the main conference room area. Main conference room.
What we're looking at is obviously the shell of the hospital, but were we able to retain any of the equipment that was previously in the hospital?
Most of them were old, and what was salvageable was moved.
All new equipment.
That's one of the reasons why we went with the inclusion of the equipment in the contract, because you don't have to do GOJ procurement. It's already in their contract, so they can use. So, those of you who remember the building, this area used to stop at this wall. And what we've done is, from the ground floor up to this level, this has been built out. So, on the level below, we have a cardiology clinic, we have ophthalmology clinics below, and then on the first floor, we have A&E expansion to the extent of this space. And as I was saying to you, one of the areas that we filled in, this was an old library. The library is a double height space. We put in a floor level at this existing level, and we're therefore able to double the usable space in that area. And that has now facilitated the expansion of both ophthalmology and cardiology. One of the constraints, and you see it going in now, this white structure that you see here is an emergency staircase. So fire said from the 5th floor, we needed another way to get people out to the building. So we come from the 5th floor where the operating theaters are, down onto this roof, and then down onto this level, and then another staircase down here. Minister, you haven't seen this. This is since Friday. So this is a major thing that fire said to us. We had to be able to create another route on this side to get out to the building. So this was fabricated and brought in, and it has been assembled here. This wasn't here on Thursday.
Yeah. So if you notice that all windows, everything is taken out of the building. So it's a new frame for the
windows. What you're seeing, the frame on the outside, is where all of the new windows and separations will go. And on this level, where you see the green light moving, this is ICU, which is now, it'll be completely enclosed. It's one of those spaces that is completely closed in. So we'll get there.
So what are the windows?
Louvers. We maintained where...
airflow.
Yeah. And so most of it is still naturally ventilated. Let us walk through here. We'll take the outer staircase and then we'll start up into the building. 3. There was no floor here. Okay. The floor below, this was a double height space, and this was a library. So, you can see what putting in this floor has done in terms of creating additional space for use.
You guys hear that at the back?
So this floor is that.
Vivian, so they have a project. So we have to wait till everybody comes
closer.
We're saying that before 2020, what?
3? Yeah.
This floor was not here. So it's a new floor that has been put in to add more space on the cubicles, more square footage. So you're actually getting a bigger building, even though it's the same frame, based on the addition of A&E downstairs, which we will see, on this floor.
And you'll see when we get up onto the higher floors, about 8th floor, 9th floor, you can look out and see some of the expansion that happened to the north.
Okay. So what I see where I did this one more space, but what is
Cardiology.
cardiology? Okay.
So if you were to make a statement around what the improvements are to within the framework that you described, right? It's just more space. Is it more services? Is it more?
There's more services.
More services.
far better infection prevention and control standards, which is a major issue for a 50-year-old building. And there are more operating theaters, there's more imaging applications.
There'll be 11 new operating theaters here now. Brand new, 11, and 4 over the other side. So 15 new operating theaters will be in the building. On the campus, I call it a health campus.
But what was there before?
Another brief intermission. I want to give a shout out to Pembroke Family Medicine. If you guys are looking for a private doctor, I know, back to school is coming up, so don't forget the look of school medicals done. Yes, look no further than Pembroke Family Medicine. You can check them out on Instagram, right? I'm going to always support my friends in everything that they do. And yeah, so Pembroke Family Medicine, check them out. They're at Harbour City, right? So Harbour City Mall, downtown. Yeah. And this is the lovely Dr. Janelle Brown. So when you go there and you see her, you tell her that you found her through me. All right. Now let's get back into the vlog.
Is that something that you could share with the group?
The change?
A list of the improvements and just so that it's very clear.
Yeah, we can
to
listen.
everybody.
Let everybody come up. They can talk from here.
Is this the 5th floor?
Fourth.
Okay, 4th. Okay. So the maternity
What? So yes, so the 6-story part, that is now the new maternity suite. Yeah. No. That is the structure that projects.
Okay.
We can go in there. So this is still ward space. You would know it. But the maternity suite is now over there. And that we'll walk through it. So all of the ward spaces have been completely gutted and new. You'll see all of the necessary infrastructure for medical gases going in place. At this point in time, all of the endpoint, termination points for the electrical, plumbing, everything are in. So some of the final work that will be done are the finishes, the walls, floors, etc. But pretty much we are very close to being ready to put in the final finishes in a space like this. All of the equipment that goes on the walls, the consoles where you have the medical gases connected, lighting, power, etc. All of those have been specified and are being procured. They will be brought in and everything will be put in.
So one of the, if you're arguing on points of distinct differences, it's important to note, as I've always said, that what we did was we stripped down the buildings and nothing, just the walls. So every single thing that is here now has been put back in. So including the medical gases, the electrics, the plumbing, everything. Including after reinforcing the concrete itself. Because the concrete was actually reinforced at different points. As you can see, a lot of concrete work.
Yeah, these areas, they would have been patched. The steel would have been exposed, and each piece of steel that was exposed was manually rubbed down, sanded down, coated, and then mortar put back on it to seal it. And they've rubbed, mechanically, it's a lot of work. I glance over it, but if you look in these areas on the wall, in order to bring the walls back to a level where they can take certain finishes and final painting, they've mechanically been going through still in this phase to remove all of the existing paint to points where they need to. And it is an extreme amount of manual labor to do this, because that is an angle grinder with a man on the H-frame manually running it down for hours. And if you had seen the treatment of the steel, which is thousands of meters of steel that had been exposed due to spalling, that they then went and got an angle grinder with a sanding disc and rubbed off all of the rust, taking it back down to the original steel, manually applying this coating to the steel that was exposed to reintroduce the strength of the steel back to the member that was exposed, and then manually packing around it the mortar to re-entomb it. It is not, if you didn't see it, you can't grasp it.
You did that on every floor?
Every single floor, and on the facade. We had at some stages 80 people on the facade doing that. Contractor was able to find 430 beds, inpatient beds. So Whereas though the hospital before would have had a walkway, an external walkway, if you follow the light, this was outside. We've had to blow out some of the walls to create or allow for that space to be used. And then what the architects have done is that they've tried to push and pull some of the elements to give it a bit of depth and a bit of play so it doesn't look too flat. So that's why you see some areas pushed in, some of them remain where they are with the walkways in order to allow for play of depth. So there is still a lot of architecture here. For those who know the building, I love it. Before, I thought it was really a beautiful building. And I think everybody appreciates that. And if you look at the design for the Western Child and Adolescent, you can see where they respected the design of the original Cornwall. And we wanted to still keep as much of it here as possible so that, you know, we didn't lose all the history.
We'll go to the next one.
Yeah. Fiber optic cable and everything to connect the floor. Ultimately, once we move to electronic health records, the need for that amount of connectivity is going to be paramount. So that infrastructure will be accommodated. The elevators will all be new, but you'll see on each floor where we've consumed a lot of the space that was in this elevator lobby to ensure that the technology can be properly integrated.
Digital.
Yeah.
So there's a discussion around digitization. This is very difficult to do, by the way, the piping, and it's right across the building. It's a big thing.
Big job.
And very expensive.
Yeah.
The company is not cheap.
I have a question on the connectivity. So it's based on the size of the building, this is all Cat 6 everywhere and make sure that it's all fiber.
All fiber.
All fiber.
Yeah.
Every inch of this is
All fiber. So there's a fiber network that runs from the main server. Each link goes to each floor, so you have redundancy. So that if there is a break for first floor, it does not. So everything is independent. Yeah. No, we've spent a lot of time working with MEP engineers how to do this. And as I said, working through, you would appreciate it more when you go, if you go with the Western Child. The ceiling heights in here are different. I mean, so what you're seeing here, these girders, these metal frames that you see here, in some areas where the level of spalling, where the concrete coming off of the steel was so bad, what the structure engineers did was put in another structure that integrated to the existing structure to ensure that they completely reinforced the slabs. So that's what you're seeing here. So even in some of these instances, you'll notice that these girders are 6 inches below the beams. Working around that has been a really, really huge challenge. But I mean, we've done it and it will work.
So for the maternity ward, has the number of beds decreased in terms of those that are in the labor room? Or is it still multiple beds in one room?
There are some individual, and there are some two, and then there's some multiple.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a breakout of different types. Yeah.
Okay.
I know you guys have the connection between the children's hospital and this hospital, right? But I don't know where that there yet, but I just want to try to understand because as somebody that works in the pediatric department, right? When there's a mother who is here who unexpectedly goes into labor and there's a premature baby that's being born, right? I'm assuming the NICU is going to be over by the pediatric hospital.
I believe there's a NICU over here as well.
Oh,
I think we've kept it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good because the running.
Yeah.
You guys think I'm joking? Yeah, the people work over here. What is that? This is all.
It's a waterproof membrane and about 6 inches of insulation and then concrete underneath it. The concrete, it was over a foot of concrete on this roof that we had to take off to put on new insulation and waterproofing.
This is the additional third work and what we're looking at for all of them?
So this, no. This is a space frame that we're looking at.
Oh, this one.
Yeah. This is existing. We just changed the glass. But these openings were here before. So this is 5th floor. We're going to go through the operating theaters. At the western end of the 5th floor is ICU. When we started, I spoke to you about these zones of refuge. If you notice this build out right here and the walling that is here, people who are not ambulant, they will be taken to this area on both ends of the building if a fire were to start. And then fire will be able to access them from these staircases. So they'll be held here safely. The fire rating for the walls has been specified by the fire brigade. That's what will be built out. So even if there's a fire in the zone between where the elevators are and here, it will be contained. And they will be safe until fire can get to them. And this is now a major safety inclusion in the building. So some of the beds, it's not that the space will not be used for beds. The count of the beds includes the beds that are in there. But it's not that those people can't be shifted. If they are ambulant, they'll be allowed to use the stairs. The people who are not will be then taken there. But it is a major safety feature that has been included and insisted on by the fire brigade. And it will transform safety for the people on the wards.
This gives you an indication as to the electricals and all of the wards have to be. One of the problems with the facility when it collapsed was that there was water intrusion from the roof, and so the walls were all wet. All of this was corroded, and that's where you got the mold and the sick building syndrome. So we've had to rip out all of that because you couldn't repair it. You just rip out everything, put on a new roof clearly to stop the leaking, and of course replace everything. And hopefully that will give us another 50 years at least with proper maintenance.
So you can see that that has been done. So they now need to be tested as well. So all of the little valves that you see, all of that is part of the medical gas build out. For the lay person, if you look up now and you see the copper, you can tell that what is happening in that direction is very, very, very important. So very complicated. So if you notice the number of pipes, the size of the pipes, everything that is going that way, this is now going towards operating theater. So you have the gases that are used for by the anesthesiologists, etc. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. There are 6 operating theaters in here, so we're going to go through all of them, okay? And then I will show you. Hopefully you will remember what they look like. And when, as Minister says, you come back and visit the finished thing, you will be as blown away as I'm sure you will be based on what I know of the design. So this is one of them. One of the things that we've done is, in terms of infection prevention and control standards, is create separate routing for doctors and nurses, as well as the patients that are being brought into the space. So I'm going to show you what happens back of house for those hoteliers amongst us, how the doctors will access the space, and how, as I mentioned before, what needs to go to CSSD on the floor above us, how that actually gets out of the space without overlapping with the public anymore. So it's dark, but I'm going to show them the passage. So somewhere that a patient will never see, only the doctors here will ever notice or get a chance to experience, is these spaces. It's very tight around here. Watch that opening, please. So this corridor that you're in is where nurses, doctors, anybody who is assisting with the surgery will walk. So that blank wall ahead of you will be a doorway, and this is a passage exclusively to ensure.
Don't go wrong.
Let us not go. That opening is not.
So in layman's language, the doctors use this area.
Yeah.
For infection prevention and control, not the patient. Come back around on the other side.
That goes up to this space to move things from the operating theater to central sterilization.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, right. There are 2 operating theaters in this space, so we have 2 on the west, 2 here on the southern side, and we have 2 on the east for this area. That's where they take samples. So when you're putting it in the formaldehyde,
Okay.
you need a special
From
fume.
the surgery, yeah.
You need a special fume hood.
Okay.
The formaldehyde is not fit for humans. Oh boy. Yeah, I know. Careful. Careful, please. Careful, careful. Careful, careful. Watch your toes. Get up your hard boots. Wall of the operating theater. There's a kit of parts with a frame that gets fitted to this and a metal skin with coved corners and very easy to clean surfaces will be put in. And where you'd be used to before operating theaters that have cabinetry and those things that are sitting within the space, those will fit within the walls. So you'll have very flush, smooth surfaces, which will also make it very easy to clean.
One of the biggest challenge when it comes to OT is the air conditioning.
Right.
If the air conditioning doesn't work, OT is down, and that's it. So I know you showed us, I think it was on the 3rd floor, the 4th floor, the big air conditioning. Is that something that's prioritized here for the operating theater?
Each operating theater has their own unit with HEPA
Separate
filtration, everything, laminar flow, everything. So it is not dependent on the central air. Even if one goes down, the others will be functioning. And if one goes down, it won't affect the other one. So they are disaggregated in such a way that if something goes down, if something happens, even with the best of maintenance, if one of them breaks down, it's not going to affect the others.
And the sterilization, and that's the
CSSD, yes.
You already talked about.
Yeah. So
And you're right. Most of the infection issues are linked to air quality and airflow. And so one of the things that we have taken a lot of care in doing in the entire operation is to make sure, there's a hole there, so be careful, is to make sure that that the operating theaters have a level of independence, one, so we can, if one shut down, the entire system don't shut down. And of course that it is fairly high tech. And you may have heard me speak in the sectorial recently that all operating theaters will have a backup system eventually, where if the main one goes down, something else is used until we fix the main one. Because it is a major source of concern for consistency of work in the theater. But can you imagine opening this place with 11 new operating theaters?
I don't speak English.
Oh, you speak English? Okay, good.
These are the medical technology guys from Lead Bell. So where we are now is the intensive care unit. The bed count for ICU is 7. It is completely airtight. ICU has very high standards for air quality, etc. Negative pressure, so there is not the flow of air in once you open the doors. So it has to be a sealed space. So the level of finishing here is also very, very high and responsive to the sensitivity of the area.
How many beds you said?
7.
What was the bed count before?
I can't answer that question right now, but I can get that for you.
This would be more though.
Yeah.
I think we have about, how many we have over there on the other side?
I don't remember that.
Wasn't it the ICU was on a separate floor?
No? You mean on Cornwall? No, ICU was right here, on this floor.
Or maybe that's when they moved it. No, man. When
No.
everything was happening, I'm pretty sure they moved it. Was it on the 7th or the 8th floor or something like that? No?
No, ICU was on the 5th floor, right here. Same space.
6th floor.
With this PVC flooring, trolleys rolling, even if you had hard shoes on, the transmission of noise will be almost completely removed. So if a patient is in bed and there's a trolley, that disturbance, it won't be there anymore. And some of these very small things are very impactful in terms of the health and well-being of the nurses who have to walk a considerable distance, although the way we have done the wards now, there was a time when, for example, male and female were stacked vertically. So if there's one floor, the male ward is now one floor, female ward is another floor. So the movement, you won't have, yeah. So those things should significantly improve their well-being also. Six, yeah.
You have somewhere for oncology?
Yeah. So I'll show you. Oncology is on the second floor.
Okay.
Yeah. When we go back down, we'll go back to the third floor and then we'll go down to second and we're A&Es. I'll just sort of take you on the marathon walk. All right, so what you're seeing here, folks, is, well, let's come this way because I'd mentioned this open to air space. The floor that I'm standing on did not exist. It was open to below. So this is a new floor. And when the same way we use a space frame on the third floor to enclose that atrium, we did this roof structure here to include this. This is a far more sophisticated and expanded CSSD. So we took away the plant room that was here. All the plant services are outside the building. And we have a very, very state-of-the-art CSSD that is coming into this space. And CSD is Central Sterilizing and Storage Department. So everything that needs to be cleaned from equipment that they use in operating theaters to gowns, everything that needs to be sterilized, either through heat or hydrogen peroxide, which is cold sterilization, will happen in here.
Can I ask one other question? How will these windows be cleaned?
Okay, so the maintenance regime, you'll have to have extending telescopic structures to go up and clean it. It'll have to be, on the outside, you can get to them from the roof, but from the inside, you will need those telescopic ladders.
It's something that I generally
high-level windows.
Wonder
Yeah.
why our buildings don't incorporate what is required for routine maintenance, especially a structure like this that was left unmaintained for so long, and is somewhere that cleanliness and hygiene matters.
Yes.
And windows pose a problem and are required to be clean.
Yes.
But very often the designs don't take into account what may facilitate an easier way
Right.
of maintaining them.
One thing that I would say about this space, right, that differs from other areas that have windows, these clerestory type windows, is that this will be an entirely sealed space. So the rate at which they will get dust and build up at that level will be much, much less. So the areas that have high level windows that are open to the air, where a breeze blows through dust and all of these things, is that's worse. But here, they will not get dirty as quickly as an open area.
It's a minor point.
It's very
But
true.
it doesn't matter how often or not, because the maintenance culture in Jamaica is that if it's not broken and popped down, or if it don't look dirty and dingy, it doesn't require cleaning.
But
That's
it
just
can't
the
be that
culture.
in here because
Not
here is a
Absolutely.
highly sanitized
Absolutely.
area.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Not here. It can't be here.
Outside, because when you look through a window, you're not only seeing what is dirty on the inside, but you see what is dirty on the outside.
Yeah.
But we need not belabor the point.
I actually have a follow-up question on that because that was one of
Trolleys,
Trolleys,
people,
staff,
and to
chaos
pass.
and confusion in an emergency.
The widths were standard, so even as they were before, they were to the appropriate standard. Let's
So
check some.
previously the internal walls were soft walls.
No, they were all. You can see where the beams are. We've created additional levels of separation. It allows for the beds to have the proper oxygen piping directly to them, proper consoles for electrical, lighting, everything. So each patient will have proper lighting at their bed.
I think while those who use the hospital services here in Western Jamaica understand that it takes time, I think their major grouse is that it has taken too long, notwithstanding what has been discovered along the way. And the other concern, Minister, is beyond the physical plant and machinery, is the culture of the culture of delivering health services. I get more complaints about just an uncaring attitude of the staff, while many acknowledge that they have a wider array of services?
It's up in,
So all of this right here is A&E?
yeah, and that is new. So we built this out to that wall. Sorry, I don't,
Yeah, I like.
sorry.
No, it's fine. I thought you should secure somewhere.
All of that is new. Yes. But we also now have an X-ray and CT for,
A&E?
yeah.
The PET scan, you had mentioned a PET scan.
We don't have PET scan in A&E.
Oh, okay.
A&E would have stopped at this column,
Yeah.
so now it goes out here.
Oh, okay.
And then here, and this, eh? Yeah.
From here to there.
And it stopped at this wall.
Yeah.
So now it goes all the way back. And then it stopped here.
Oh,
It stopped right at this line.
It stopped here initially.
And then it now goes all the way back there. So all of this is new. This is all, and this is where all the emergency beds go.
All of the emergency beds.
There was no time wasted doing it, and it took almost 2 months.
This is Dietary?
No, this is renal.
Renal.
This is
Okay,
renal.
renal. Oh,
What about the number of patients for dialysis?
30,
30.
yeah,
What
At
was
that
the number
time.
before?
at a time.
At that time.
Oh, yeah, what was the number before that could be accommodated? Less? Was it
It would be less.
significantly
It
less?
would be less. There's a renal unit, a makeshift renal unit on the compound on the other side. So we have to, a lot of the services that we're explaining here, they will be expanded. We'll add some new ones, but the original services are all in and around the building, you know. So them are going to be the containers in the makeshift buildings. So we're really just building out new facilities. But I should have mentioned that the A&E that Vivian walked through is going to be twice the size of the previous A&E.
Yeah, he said it.
He told you that.
Yes.
And the renal unit will be larger also.
And there's a point that minister usually makes, and I think it's very, very valid, is that the hospital is not shut down. So renal is here. It's just not in this building now. He mentioned it about CSSD. CSSD is here. And in this building still right now is radiotherapy. So every day within the construction zone, and I mean the staff and the doctors in radiotherapy have been extremely accommodating, because I'm telling you, the noise and the disruption that they have had to put up with for the last 2 years is immeasurable. And they're delivering cancer treatment still every single day. You know, I mean, I think I've caused, I'm just saying this, I'm not proud of it, but the closure of radiotherapy for about 5 days during the time, because we just couldn't work. They just couldn't work through the conditions that were being created by the construction. And so, I mean, one closure came from a burning smell. They were welding in the plant room on the other side of the building, and the fumes were pulled into the space somehow. And they were very noxious. This is just welding, and they had to shut down. Another time we had a water intrusion from the construction that was happening above. And they've continued to work, you know, and it's very, very, very admirable, I think. And we've had to work with them as a project manager. I mean, you try and give as much notice as possible to disruption, for the disruption that's going to happen, and you want to control it, but sometimes it has just been unbearable, you know, and they just don't want to put but the staff have endured it, and the patients have endured it, and they've kept on doing the service during all of this.
All right, so this is the room.
Fiona inside? Fiona is on site?
So
No, not you, Minister.
here, I will tell you, Minister, we can talk about some of the flow. This area, this room, is where all of the packaging of the food will take place. So the production area is over here. The storage of the raw materials, etc., is beyond that opening and to the right, where you have refrigeration and dry goods stores and everything. And then it moves along this passageway into the production area, from the production area into the distribution area in here, out through this door, into a service lift, up to, in the case of Western Child Minister, second floor, across the bridge, and then up to the other floors for this building. So
You want to show them all the wastewater.
yeah. Just be careful as you move to this trench. But in various points in this floor, right, and what we've tried to do is take all of the wastewater away from Dietary. So we moved it to the periphery. So we've come down in various areas outside the food preparation space. But all of these trenches that you're seeing here, there's one along that southern end, and all of this is all that has been created to take wastewater out of the building. So there are major manholes on the east and the west, which then go to, they travel northerly to a central sewer disposal system that connects to the central sewer from Montego Bay. So that is how we're actually integrating into that system. But the process of catching the levels, tying everything back, there's nothing that is part of the waste disposal system that is connected to what was original. We have decommissioned everything and put in a completely new wastewater disposal system, which is very, very important, I think, to the peace of mind of the end users. And you can see the depth of the trenching. It was deeper than this because the pipes are now in and they've started to backfill them. But in the area for dietary, and this is one of the areas that has to be finished, it would have been a lot more straightforward if we didn't have so many services on the tower above coming down into it and everything leading in this direction to the manholes. But unfortunately, this is also in one of the lowest points that we can connect.
And
so
it will also have where the fumes will be extracted.
Correct. All of the extraction, all of the fire suppression, especially needed for dietary, because as you can imagine, fire control in here is going to be paramount importance. There's a lot that has happened through there, but it's storage. It's storage. Yeah.
Child and adolescent. So this is the contractor, the manager, project manager, and this is Fiona, who is the interpreter, and she's probably a project manager too, but she's the interpreter. So she speaks English if you need to ask any questions. We're not going to go in the building, but you're going to see some of the similar things you're seeing here, only that this is a new building. So maybe on the ground floor, and then we just walk around, and if anybody has any questions, yeah? You want to walk this way or that way?
All right, guys, so I'm wrapping up. As the minister said, we won't be going on all floors, but we're doing a quick walkthrough. I know it's quite lengthy vlog, but it's a lot to show. And again, if you've made it this far, thank you so very much. And when you're finished with this vlog, I want you guys to check out some of my other vlogs, different things to do in Jamaica, my street food vlog, hidden gems in Jamaica. And again, if you have any relative traveling to Jamaica, then you can surely direct them to my tour and transportation company and visit the website.
All right, guys, so if you notice the difference between a new building and a brownfield site, high ceilings, right? This will be a very airy, open space. This is an elevator shaft, and that's the elevator. That's the Otis. Yeah, and so you're gonna see a more modern feature here. This is diagnostic equipment, MRI, and that sort of thing. MRI, X-rays, all of that. Yeah, we don't need to go down. They've seen it before, and I think they're getting tired now. It's a catchment tank.
This is water
water storage. It's quite big, you can't see it from because it go all the way down. So
massive.
So we're solving the water problem. Farm of sorts. Yeah. So it allows for some shared space, and I believe so for nurses. I think there may be some single space though. Yeah. Single and shared.
Is it just nurses' quarters, or is it?
Well, it's whatever we want it to be, I guess.
It has to be doctors to put on call.
It won't house everybody. Oh, you know. All right. So this is where perhaps, and I say perhaps at some points in our lives, when we should have expired, we will all end up. This is the morgue. Hopefully not too soon. Walk here.
Well, this pretty much concludes the vlog. And as I mentioned before, the reason I was brought on this walkthrough because at the beginning I had asked a question about why it has taken 8 years and when is it that they're going to reopen. Now, the project manager said that they believe they will reopen after the first quarter of 2026, right? And my question was answered in terms of why it's taking so long. I mean, I also have to remember that there was a pandemic which drastically slowed down everything. It slowed down the repairs of Cornwall Regional as well as starting Western Children Adolescent Hospital. Because I remember the year when they were supposed to start the hospital was in 2020, and that's when the pandemic happened. So, there's a lot of hiccups along the way. But what matters is that there's progress being made, and we cannot deny that. You guys have seen it. Heard some of what they had to go through and endure in terms of just like rubbing down the steel and how long that took and whatever. But at the end of the day, we want to ensure that everything is done properly. So when it reopens, we have the best of the best. And you already know the best is in the West. So with that being said, I bid you guys farewell and I see you guys at the next vlog. I just have some pictures that we took while we were there and I'm going to show those. And again, guys, like, share, comment, subscribe, turn on post notification for the next vlog coming. Follow me over on Instagram and TikTok. And of course, if you have any relatives or if you're traveling to Jamaica and you're looking for a tour and transportation company, look no further than Amanda's 876 Adventures. All right, guys, I'm out.